All right. I guess this is just a repeating day where I just repeat myself. No, I gotta get healthy here soon, and I do, and I want to. But I follow my guides, and my guides are just—they don't care about my health. They don't. They really don't. They're mean to me. But no, I was watching a video about Hannibal and the Romans, and every time I watch shit like that online, it just irritates me. I mean, I like the production, and I like the honesty of the people. They just keep reading these books, and they believe these books, and like, damn, it's just like we're living in the day of fucking stupid ass nationalism. Ew, 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 ew. I mean, first thing to talk about when talking about the Roman peoples, it's you have different periods, and they're different. They're different depending on the day, upon the generation, upon on this and that. It's like we're talking about several different Roman peoples. None of whom are the same. And to talk about the Roman people as if they're just one thing, it's just stupid. It's just stupid. But I want to focus on not only the early Roman Republic, but upon Numa Pompilia, who I think the Roman people are the Roman people because of Numa Pompilia. Whether we're talking about the Romans or the modern day Italians or the modern day Spanish or whoever, all these people owe their fatherhood to Numa Pompilia, right? Because that's one of the things that people don't understand about this early Roman Republic, right? And one of the things you need to understand about the early Roman Republic is that the Romans had two gods that they never really talked about, but they were the most powerful of gods. Because you had the top gods, which are like what, Jupiter or whatever, and you had the top gods. And these were the more celebrated open gods, But these two gods that I'm about to talk about, they're the most powerful of gods, according to what I've learned. Now, someone correct me out there if I'm wrong. According to what I've learned, there's two gods out there that are the most powerful of gods, according to the early Romans, right? And these were gods of borders. These were gods of borders. So a lot of people interpret Roman history as this nationalistic thing where the Romans are trying to just conquer the world and Romanize the world. And oh my God, like later Romans were probably guilty of that, but they didn't do such a good job. Not at all. Oh my God. Like they failed anytime the Romans went nationalistic. But that was the thing about the early Roman Republic, because the early Roman Republic, they were seen as strange according to the rest of the Mediterranean world. Because the rest of the Mediterranean world had been corrupted by the godless Phoenicians and the godless Greeks. And you had the godless Phoenicians and the godless Greeks that did not believe in virtue. They did not believe in virtue. But it wasn't just that the Romans believed in these gods of borders. They also believed in treaties. And the difference between civilization and barbarity was whether or not you respected a treaty. Right? Whether or not you respected a treaty was the difference between barbarism and civilization. And that's important, because you have all of these cities that have the pretense of civilization upon them, but they don't respect treaties because they don't believe in virtue. They don't believe in the gods anymore. Like, if you believe in Greek syncretism, you're stupid. Because all these are different religions. They're all different religions. And there's similarities. There are similarities. But, damn, it's in the differences that you have the differences amongst the peoples. And the differences amongst the changing of the peoples themselves. Like, because again, the Romans changed throughout time, depending on their beliefs, right? And so, in the early Roman Republic, they respected borders. Like, they would conquer other tribes, but they weren't forcing the Latin language on these other tribes. They weren't forcing Latin communities within these other tribes, unless these other tribes of Italy broke treaties. And of course they did break treaties, because none of them believed in virtue like the Romans. So the Romans had ample opportunity to expand, because it's like, hey, if you're going to act like a barbarian and you're not going to respect a treaty, then you don't deserve your land. And we're going to take some of your land from you, and we're going to send in a Roman colony. You know, but it was only because these other tribes just weren't respecting the treaties. Like, any time these tribes could attack the Romans, they would. You know, fuck the treaties. They didn't care about the treaties. These were treaty breakers. No, they were fucking treaty breakers. But here we come across. You're right, and so I'm building up to the Second Punic War. Because this was the Roman world at the beginning of the Second Punic War. Right? Now, a lot of this stuff was in the past, because right after the Second Punic War, a lot of the Romans, the leading Romans, are just so corrupt that they get influenced by the Greeks, and from there everything's downhill. Like, it's this early Roman Republic that really built the foundation of the Roman peoples. And that's just the truth of it. But it was fascinating to me, and look it up for yourself, because what I'm about to tell you is fucking true. At the beginning of the Second Punic War, the Latins are a minority of the Italian peninsula. Right? Why are the Latins a minority of the Italian peninsula? Because they respected borders and they respected treaties. Now, there were some Romans that probably didn't. And there were some times when the Romans did fuck up. I'm not saying that this was a utopia. Maybe in the earlier Roman Republic it was a utopia, because it's like you have that story of Pyrrhus. And Pyrrhus's doctor comes up to the Romans, and they're like, he's like, hey, I can assassinate Pyrrhus for you. And so they arrest him. They send him to Pyrrhus, and they're like, hey, he just tried to offer to kill you, and we're not like that. Like, if we're gonna beat you man to man. We're gonna beat you on the battlefield. Like, we want you to be at your best, because when we beat you, we want real fucking glory. Like, the Romans were just like virtuous, psychotic motherfuckers, and that's how the rest of the Mediterranean world saw them. Like, these guys are virtuous. They're fucking weird. They're fucking weird, virtuous motherfuckers. It's like, who wouldn't, like, in this Machiavellian world that we're living in right now, who wouldn't have taken up that doctor's offer? Like, the American government would. Like, shit. So these were psychotic, virtuous people, you know. Like, what ended up happening is, it's because, like, in the early Roman Republic, the leaders of the Romans would compete for honors and virtue. Like it was all about, like these Roman leaders. It's like there's no shit. Like, there's some Roman leaders that would sacrifice themselves in battle, you know, to the gods. They would sacrifice themselves in battle, and they like single-handedly, you'd have a Roman consul storming into the enemy lines in order to sacrifice himself so that Rome could win, right? And so at the beginning of the Second Punic War, at the beginning, the Romans are a minority of the Latin peoples. They're a minority of the Latin peoples, and it's like anybody who joins these Phoenicians who are known for being duplicitous. Like, the Phoenicians are known for not believing in morality. Like, the Phoenicians are known for what we would call nowadays Machiavellianness. Like, they were known for having zero morality. It was all realpolitik in this ancient Mediterranean world of the Phoenicians and the Greeks, the godless Phoenicians and the godless Greeks. And that's where Fabius Maximus enters into the story, right? And that's where Hannibal and Fabius Maximus enter into the story, right? Because Hannibal comes along and he just starts kicking ass. Obviously, we all know that. We all know that. And Fabius Maximus has his famous Fabian strategy, which is the same strategy that George Washington used against the British. But like in the context of this world, it's like the longer this war goes on, the more Latin the Italian leg becomes, right? Because anybody who sides with these godless Phoenicians against the Romans, they're respecting your language. Like, they're respecting the language and the customs and the laws of the Campanians. And they're respecting the language and the laws of the Lucanians and the Apulians. And the Greeks. And the fucking Greeks. Like, they weren't forcing Latin on all these people. They're like, no, hey, but they were forcing peace and prosperity. They were forcing a because like look at reality. Look at the reality of history. Like, the reality of history is merchants trying to gain a monopoly, and these Romans were like, fuck your monopoly. We're all gonna have free trade. We're all gonna have free fucking trade amongst each other. And they were forcing and so this free trade is good for the lowly Lucanian people, but it's bad for the elite Lucanian people who want to tax everything. It's like I was learning about Asian India, and it's like if you want to get a good from one place to another, you have to go through all these tax places, and the price goes up everywhere, and it's just like damn, merchants are just the fucking worst. And sometimes they're the best. But anyways, that's a different story. No, God loves a really good merchant. I know that to be true. Um, um, so it's like the longer this war goes on, the more like it was the second it was Hannibal. It's thanks to Hannibal that the Italian peninsula became Latin. Because before Hannibal, the Italian peninsula was not Latin. It was made up of different languages and different peoples. It was only after. It was only after the Second Punic War that, like Hannibal, like Hanno the Great, was much more intelligent. And I'm not saying he was a good man. Um, I'm not saying he's a good man, but he was much more wise and intelligent than Hannibal, who wants to turn the Phoenicians into muscular people, you know. Um, Because it was ultimately Hanno that destroyed the Roman peoples. Um, and that's the truth. It wasn't Hannibal. Hannibal strengthened the Roman peoples. Like the Spanish peninsula is now Latin because of Hannibal. Right? The Spanish peninsula is now Latin because of Hannibal. The Italian peninsula is powerful because of fucking Hannibal. And it was Fabius Maximus that understood all this. And he's like, hey, the longer this war goes on, the more powerful we become. Right? And you had these other voices. And yeah, that's why I love Livy. Livy's just like one of the best historians, because you had these other voices who are criticizing Fabius Maximus. And they're like, he's just trying to delay this war. Like, we just need to beat this guy. And that's easier said than done. Like, Fabius Maximus was really respectful of Hannibal's generalship. So it wasn't just evil manipulation on Fabius's part. Like, it wasn't just evil calculation. But it was real. It's like the companions, the Capuans, like, they got erased. They got erased. Right, because they were great friends with the Romans, and you had all these family ties between the two groups, and when the Capuans decided to go with Hannibal, it's like these Romans are just like, hey, Capua's gonna be no more. Capua's gonna be no more. Capua's now gonna be Latin. Fuck Capua. Like they fucking made the wrong fucking choice. They made the wrong fucking choice. And then after the Second Punic War, the Romans became influenced. The leading Romans became influenced by the Greeks, and from there everything went downhill. It's like during the time of Caesar, you had the evil people who were supporting the Republic, but they weren't supporting the Republic because this was a corrupt republic. Right, because all these elites at the top, they were now together. They were no longer competing against each other for virtue. They were all together against the lowly people at the bottom. Like these people during the time of Caesar who were supporting the Republic were a bunch of evil, bitch ass Latin motherfuckers who did not believe in virtue. They were godless Romans. They were fucking totally fucking godless Romans. They did not believe in virtue. All these elites, they were united together against the people. But they had these ancient Roman tales within their mouths, and they're like, for the Republic, they didn't believe in the Republic. It's just like, no, they didn't believe in the Republic because they didn't understand it. They didn't understand it. But no, at the time of at the beginning of the Second Punic War, these Romans, they believed in treaties, and they believed, or they had a tradition, because again, these Romans were starting to become corrupt at the beginning of the Second Punic War. So I'm not talking about some utopia, but because of Numa Pompilia, and because of this early Roman Republic, not later Roman Republic, which was starting to get more and more corrupt. I'm not waxing on as if the Romans at the beginning of the Second Punic War. No, I think the Romans were getting fucked up because they were becoming corrupted. Because they were starting to become corrupted. And once they joined up with these godless Greeks, it was a fait accompli. And it was really just downhill, and it was really just this powerful fucking entity struggling to survive, despite, anyways. So all these people who just wax on about Hannibal, like, no, Hannibal was just like the worst. He was an idiot. He was an idiot, who was a brilliant general. He was a brilliant general, but he was death to the Phoenicians, and he was life to the Latins.